Okay, we have just gone through the introduction of mechanical measurements, and the basic target of mechanical measurement is that our engineers should be able to design the measurement system, not only to take readings but also able to design good measurement system. And they should know, if they are making measurements, what kind of variables are important, what kind of variables are not important. So it is a very complete package, and we will see as we will keep progress during this course. So it is clear that whenever there is any measurement system, this system should be manufactured, or any measurement is taken, it should be against some standard. Standards are very important. So here, international standard, which is called International System of Units, SI system, is the most popular one. It is used worldwide one, and all our measurements, equipment design, or readings, whatever, we follow this system. Advantage of international system is that whatever measurements or whatever designing we are doing in Saudi Arabia will be acceptable in America, in China, in Russia, if and only if we are following the same standards. So standard should be the same. We'll discuss these things, and then we need to cover many different ideas that we will need to understand what is precision, accuracy, repeatability, reproducibility, tolerances, traceability, etc. Next time, when we will go further, we will see that. So here, what good practices measuring? First thing, right measurements. Measurements should only be made to satisfy agreed and specific requirements. You can say for this thing that we should follow certain set of criteria, rules, or in other words, standards. So we can make right measurements and we can adopt right strategies. So this is the first thing. Then right tools. Measurements should be made using equipment and methods that are designed for the purpose. Example I can give you, for example, if there is a wall, brick wall. Yes, if there is a brick wall, you can see it's a 5-meter brick wall. There are two things. I can also use a what is micrometer or vernier caliper are used? Micrometer or vernier caliper. They are used to measure the dimensions. They are used to measure the length. Do you think I should use micrometer or vernier caliper to measure the length of the wall or height of the wall? Anybody can tell me that it is a good idea, because a micrometer can also measure, vernier caliper can also measure. Yes, Assam and Faisal, I can hear. It is not a good idea, because micrometer or vernier calipers can measure very precise things. Requirement when accuracy and precision is requirement is there. And it's you can say the total length might be micrometer. It can measure up to 25, 30, 40 millimeter, but wall is might be 1,000 meter long, 1 kilometer and a half kilometer long. So it is not a good equipment to use to measure the wall. So we will use a different, and many more. For example, when you were going to measure the weight of a newborn baby, you need a sophisticated instrument because its weight is very small. But if you are going to measure the weight of a car, it is 2 ton, 3 ton. You cannot use the equipment which is using for the baby to measure the car. It's have different range, different range. So it is not good idea. Right people. It means when we go for professional life, quality control and metrology separate dimensions, separate departments are there. And they need to qualify what they are measuring and how they are able to measure. For example, okay, if I tell you everybody very easily, you can measure the height of something. Okay, fine, everybody can do this. But if I ask you, measure the cylindricity of a shaft, it is not that straightforward to measure this. You need to develop idea. So if I want to measure the cylindricity is a geometric tolerance, and its symbol is this. and you cannot measure easily, and you have to develop an idea. So simply mean we can say proper trained person should be there at professional level when measurements will come. Next point is regular review. Regular review, there should be both internal and independent assessment of technical performance of measurement facilities and procedures. Yes, this is possibility that, for example, today you are using micrometer or using vernier caliper to measure something, and you are keep on using them for you can say 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, and I'm not sure after 3 or 4 or 5 months its reading is still good. Might be there is something went wrong with the vernier caliper. So in that case, we need to review, we need to check it internally, and sometimes send it to external labs for more precise calibrations. So we need to regularly review our equipment and methodologies, procedures. We are doing good or not, or is there any new updates are available? Demonstrate consistency. Measurement made in a location should be consistent with those elsewhere and across time. It means if there is a, for example, micrometer and reading is taken in the Saudi Arabia at any time, if that micrometer is now taken to the USA or a North Pole, some other poles where temperatures are, for example, very low, still I should be able to get the same reading, whether we are on the different place, whether we are on a different time frame. So measurement system demonstrate consistency, the right procedures. We already discussed that we should follow well-defined procedures before using our measurement system. It can be like that before using the system, clean it, clean with this particular oil, and this expert person should be like this. So there will be written procedures. Vernier and micrometers are very simple devices. You use them, but at industry level, sometimes you use some laser methods, sometimes you use mechanical MMC machines, uh, coordinate measuring CMM machines, coordinate measuring machines. So very sophisticated equipment is there. So should be well-defined procedures. Now, good measuring practices. The international system of units based the first thing we need to follow if we want to make good measuring practice. In fact, there is not only SA system, there is a Chinese system. Might be it is called GB system. There is a German system, DINS system. There are many other systems, but normally it is desirable SI system, which is this one. In fact, SI is taken from a French word. It is called Système International de Unité, SI. So a Système International, a French word. So SI, in fact, SI system makes the basis for all the measurements normally we want to make anywhere. So it will act as a basic standard for our measurements. There are tremendous benefits. We already discussed there are tremendous benefits of SI system. If all countries adopt this system, it means whatever measurement methods, whatever design methods as per this system are adopted in one country will be equally valid and acceptable in other countries. In fact, it is so much, you can say, applicable. We purchase bolts, nuts commonly from the market. So if they are on SI standard, it does not matter which country made them, because since they're SI system, so whatever board, nut board you're going to purchase from the market, you can use it at home where you are need to require, because if it is as per standard. This keeps measurement made in different countries compatible. Yes, compatible. So if you're following same standard, it will be compatible. Products, measurements will be compatible whether the measurements are made or the systems are manufactured in one country or in another country. So now it comes, first thing we have learning that whenever we are going to make some measurements, it should follow some standard, and we are following the SI standard. So what is standard, for example, here in measurement system? When a measurement system is calibrated, calibration is a specific word. It means, for example, for the measurement you are using a micrometer, dial gauge, some feeler gauge, some other things. But how you going to make sure your vernier caliper or other instruments are working okay? So in order to verify those things, the procedures are adopted. They are called calibration procedure. And calibration procedure is normally done with some reference value as per SI standard. So the reference value with which we will calibrate is going to make our standard. So this standard may be output of equipment. Okay. Now standard, what standard method? Standard can be a equipment, piece of equipment output. Please check your vernier caliper output to another system, another measuring system input. If those are okay, both are okay. So that output can make your calibration procedure a very well-defined physical attribute. For example, it is said that 1 kilogram. What is 1 kilogram? You measure 1 kilogram in Saudi Arabia, but it is said internationally there is a one cylinder who is placed in Paris, France. Its weight is reference or standardized as 1 kilogram. Yes, it is a physical quantity now. So if your instrument in Saudi Arabia measuring same as 1 kilogram as a reference from this one, so it is act as a standard. Finally, a very accepted technique. So equipment can be your standard. Your a physical thing can be your standard or methodology, a system. So methodology means first do this, then this, then it will act as a standard for you for your. So standard is the first thing. Now internationally, there are physical quantities. Now we know there are physical quantities. We need to measure the physical quantities. There are 7 physical quantities. Those are defined as primary and standard unit are them. Length is measured by SI system. As per SI system, we know there are many units for length, but as per SI system, it is meter. Mass is measured in kilogram. Time is measured in second. Temperature is measured in Kelvin. Current is measured in ampere. Light, luminance of intensity is measured in candela, and matter. Most of the time, chemical engineers deal with the mole. So these are 7 basic physical quantity and their measurement unit. Whatever measurement other than this we are going to make, they will take their basis from these one. There will be nothing new. They will be combination of 2, 3 things or whatever 4. They will be combination of these other than if we are going to measure anything. Here, now length, what is length is traveled? The length of the path traveled by light in an interval of fraction of second. What is the fraction of second? 1 divided by 299 millions, this second. So it means 1 second is divided so small. Earlier, for example, just like we can define this is a cylinder. If its length is 1 meter and it is placed in Paris, we can compare our 1 meter with it. If both are okay, they are okay. But what is issues that standards that we want to make a system or technique, they never change. For example, if this cylinder is placed in Paris, we will keep on telling, please place it at 0 degree, pressure should be this, other environmental conditions should be this. If everything is this, then please use it as a reference or calibration. But on the other hand, we know that speed of light is constant anywhere in the world. So rather than using that cylinder as a physical quantity, if I use light speed somehow to measure my distance, I will get very good answers, and it will be same everywhere, not only in the world but might be in the universe, because speed of light is constant everywhere. But if I use a physical quantity, in this case a 1 meter length, we have to tell them, because metal expand on heating, contract on cooling. So we have to take care a lot of things to use it as a standard. So that's why we're using complex. Kilogram, we already discussed that a platinum iridium cylinder kept in inter-SI system, it is in Paris. Its weight is considered as 1 kilogram. If somebody was calibration to highest level, so it will be used as reference. Then time, very important, it's measured in seconds, and it is this frequent cycles radiation emitted from vaporized cesium. Again, a very standardized definition. Then Kelvin, in SI system, temperature is measured in Kelvin. We know in Kelvin there is a 0 degree centigrade, and its relation with Kelvin we can establish. So then current is measured in ampere, light is measured in candela, and matter is measured in mole. And this one is in terms of carbon atom with 12, carbon 12. And the number of atoms in that is a mass 0.01 kilogram of this is considered as a mole. So you can see these are the standard are made. An international SI system defined their standards. They will be considered same everywhere. Their definition will be same everywhere, and we will use them. Now, I discussed with you there are 7 basic quantities. Whatever going to measure, we will use these 7 basic quantities. But what happened if we want to measure something new physical quantity? It should be, if you are asking from Saudi Arabia, normally everywhere we like to use SI system. It is a rule. Most of the time, I have internationally SI system is used. Wherever you go, advice is SI system. I have been working in industry in Pakistan. It was special industry, so they were using some GB standards. So even GB standards have very close relation with SI system, but internationally SI system, no discussion. Even when we are solve our examples, for example, we are solving your mechanics of material, thermodynamics, you will see this is a Fahrenheit, you can see this is a Kelvin. We prefer to give students all the examples, those are based on SI system. So preferably SI system, but if industry, due to some special reason, they can use special things, special systems. But remember, special system, for example, I'm using China system, might be if I sell my part in Germany, might be it is not compatible. So preferably anything, everywhere, SI. Now we were discussing that mass. Kilogram is the basic unit, okay. But there is inch pound system also. So we can convert inch pound system to mass. Almost half kilogram is equal to 1 pound. Similarly, frequency unit, it is 2 pi radian divided by second. Then length, which is normally measured in SI system in meters. But if you are working in other system, as you, for example, in IP system, inch pound system, you can convert meter into feet. 0.33 mean it is almost 3 feet in 1 meter. Similarly, you can convert them inch. Internationally, again, inch SI system is measured in Kelvin, but in SI system, there's a centigrade scale is also used. Centigrade scale means water boils at 100 degrees centigrade and water freezes at 0 degree. So they can convert with each other in SI system. This is SI system. Base unit is Kelvin, but centigrade is also used. Then another system is called IP system or English system. In English system, we measure temperature in terms of Fahrenheit, but the standard unit is Rankine. As in case of IC system, it is Kelvin. In inch pound or in English system, it is Rankine. If K is related to centigrade in that system, it can also be related to Fahrenheit. Then there you can find the relations of conversion between Kelvin to centigrade, Rankine to Fahrenheit, even centigrade to Fahrenheit, Kelvin to Rankine, all conversions are available. Force. Force is a new thing I want to measure. Look, force is equal to mass into acceleration. If you look at the end of the day, it is based of 3 basic primary units: mass, length, time. Joule. Newton meter, again mass, length, time, watt, joule per second, again length, kilogram, mass, so Pascal pressure. So again, everything is going to be derived from the primary units. Base units and derived units. We already discussed that there are basic 7 quantities, and we have defined for them units. There can be many systems internationally, but the most popular is SI system, and in many countries, other sometime inch pound system is also used. And we have seen just formulas conversion from inch pound system to SI system. Most preferably in the books everywhere we would like to use, but some British and some American books you find this system. So in here we know it is measured in meter, inch, kilogram, pound, mass. Look, it is not that simple. Very simple, kilogram. Here you are using pound. Then you need to tell it is mass. Why? Because in inch pound system, pound can represent mass and pound can also represent force. So with pound, you have to apply force to tell me I'm talking about force. And with pound, you have to say mass, so you are talking about mass. So you can see SI system is a very easy system, good system, familiar system. Other system might be not as easy to use. And here Kelvin, here's Rankine, ampere, mole, they're same. Now derived. What derived mean? If we are going to measure any other variable which is not here, but it is new one, then it must be derived from here. And there are many examples of derived units. For example, force is equal to a mass into acceleration, Newton. In inch pound system, pound. Voltage, it is a scan distance, secondary units, capacitance, inductance. These are electrical terms, but they are secondary units. Pressure, Pascal. Force per unit area, very simple. You look at here in a IPS, inch pound system, PSI. Pound force, but since it is force per unit area, you have to write pound with force. They did not mention pound with mass because it is force. So force per unit area inch system. So pound per unit square means PSI. Remember this term, PSI. Then energy, very simple, joule, Newton meter. Look at here. You have to ask pound, foot, force. So not a single term is used, a new term is used. Power watt. Watt is one term power. Look at here. Foot to pound force per second. So again a complex. So that's why SI system is considered very easy, friendly, and make the basis of many things. But all other systems they can also be adopted, and there is a conversion from one system to other system. Mathematical formulas are available. Now we will go what a good measurement system, how we design and what it should be. A good measuring fundamentals of measuring is that there will be some input signal, it will come, and there will be some instrument which working on as per some standard will process on this signal and give you the output reading. So there will be input signal, there will be output signal, but between them there will be some processing method. For example, you use temperature thermometer. You use thermometer to measure the reading. But what is the input of the thermometer? It is heat. Heat is coming. Heat is coming. And what output you are reading? Thermometer temperature reading. So from here, some heat was coming. You can feel hot and cold. But what is one definite value? 17 degree, 30 degree, whatever. So it means there was something that converted dot heat signal, sense the heat signal, and in the thermometer there was something as per step that converted into one definite value into that is the form of temperature. We will see these things in details in coming lectures or in coming slides. Fundamentals. A measurement system in an act of assigning what is measurement? A measurement is an act of assigning a specific value to a physical variable. For example, if I want to measure a physical variable, for example, so I will assign a certain value, and a physical variable which is going to be measured is called measured variable. Just some standard definitions. There are important issues to be addressed to make sure output of these measurement devices is reliable and true. So what is our target? That whatever going to output reading, it should be reliable, acceptable everywhere in the world. So one of the following thing we must address important questions. And these are the how can a measurement test plan be devised so that measurement provides unambiguous results. For example, we're going to perform a test. We know in the lab you're going to perform the test. So there are some certain procedures you have to adopt before performing the test. So there's a complete test plan. We will see in details when it is coming in next slides that it is not direct. Sometimes thermometer is easy to use. You can directly use it, but many methodologies to measure something they require. For example, from the engine, I ask you, please measure the power of the engine. There's no direct way to measure directly. So you follow certain strategy, certain set of formulas to measure the power of the engine. So, and what can be that result should be good, reliable. We have to be very careful using standard methods. How can a measurement system be used to the engineer can easily interrupt? He's saying, please make sure when you are designing a measurement system, it should be friendly enough so engineers can interpret its reading. If there's not final reading, intermediate reading, then they are able to evaluate it, interpret it, discuss it, and then try to get their useful results at the end. So we need to take care of these things. So these are the procedures that will ask us when we are going to design some measurement devices. We will keep on asking these questions so we can define a better system, a good system. Okay, there are many measurement tools. Those are used in industry somewhere. I am asking you, somebody can tell me what is this thing? You should know. What is this thing? Anybody? Gap fillet. Filler. Yes, yes, now. It's a filler gauge. Thank you. Very good answer. It's a filler gauge. It is used to check the gap between two things. For example, if something is lying on the floor, how can you use your micrometer vernier caliper there? No, you have to insert this. So you can see the example here to measure the gap between this is the your car engine head. This is the gap between spark plug and the top. So you are using this thickness gauge, going to check it. So there is a pressure gauge, some temperature sensing, some transducer to measure might be the force or pressure, strain gauges, micrometers, inside micrometer, depth micrometers. This is a inside micrometer is in application. This is an outside micrometer to measure the piston. So there are many instruments. So here is the first strategy when we are just template for measurement system. This is a very general template, and we will discuss many examples keeping in view this template. And might be I will give you some tutorials and I will discuss with you, but main thing, this template. So what are the basic things of this measurement system? Basically, such a measurement system consists of four things generally. One is called sensor, and also transducer. Normally, sensor and transducer make the first important stage. Second stage is called signal conditioning. So sensor and transducer, they are receiving the signal, and there is something done on the signal so that it can be measurable in some kind of measurable things. We call it signal conditioning. And then third stage, output stage. Then we can measure the reading. And final stage is feedback control system. We will see it is additional. If it will give back you signal, if requirement is fulfilled, if requirement is not fulfilled, we will go back. So sensor and transducer combination, it is going to accept the signal from external source. For example, temperature. Your output reading of thermometer is a temperature, which is here. But temperature, thermometer is basically sensing heat from the source outside. So it is this stage. Then what you note in the classical bulb thermometer? Something rising up, something rising down. It is conditioning stage. It is happening here. And at the end, which level it is going up, which level is going down, you take your reading. So now you see signal was coming, its conditioning is done, and then you are able to measure the temperature reading. And where is control stage come, we will see in coming stages. Now we have just seen these four stages and it is just written here. Sensor transducer stage, first stage. It should be noted sensor selection, placement. So when you want to measure something, you should be very careful where you want to take reading and which is the important point. For example, when you apply the strain gauges, we have just seen here strain gauges, look at here. The direction of this strain gauge matters a lot. Selection of the strain gauge matters a lot. You want to measure stress in y direction, you want to measure stress in x-axis direction, or you want to measure some shear stresses. So different, please be careful. Look at here. Direction is 45 degree with reference. If this is my front reference x-axis, this is my y-axis. So it is this. So sensor is applied very carefully to its target. Now, particularly important to ensure that sensor output accurately reflects the measurement objective. What is my objective? Transducer is also used in reference with the package device which may contain sensor transducer. So it's used normally come in one package, an event, and even some signal conditioning elements. What transducer do? Normally transducer is the one in a, for example, electrical system. It converts some physical quantity into measurable, for example, into electronic signal. Is that transducer is doing is because, for example, you are using a digital thermometer. Heat is coming and reading is in some digital form, some electric thing. So it means there is some transducer was there who sense the heat and give you output in terms of some electrical thing. Definitely, you can take reading out in some kind of mechanical form. Some gauge is rotating. So transducer is converting the input heat, input sense, input whatever measurable to some readable terms. Conditioning. Second stage we discuss conditioning. It takes signal and modify it to desirable magnitude. You need to sometimes amplify so you can read it well. Signal conditioning stage. Might be I can give you an example. For example, there is a pressure measurement device and its range is 1 to 2 MPa. It can maximum pressure, it can measure 1 to 2 MPa. So if it is divided into, for example, 10, I say it is divided into 10 parts and maximum limit is 1 MPa. So it will be 0.1, it will be 0.2, 2, it will be 0.3. Finally, it becomes 1 here. And there's another pressure gauge. It can measure up to 10 ampere. What I'm saying, 10 ampere. Its limit is 1 ampere, its limit is 10 ampere. Again, it is divided into 10 scales. So this is 1 ampere, 2 ampere, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. So in this case, this rotation of needle, for example, it is 10-degree rotation. Here 10-degree rotation means 1 ampere, but here same 10-degree rotation means 0.1 ampere. So this is the conditioning. Conditioning is different with respect to different output level. We will see in detail more that how much conditioning amplification it is required, but this is what we done. We will discuss more example when we will keep on progress. So this optional intermediate state might be to perform task, increase the magnitude of the signal, amplification, or removing something, so we can see good and better quality outputs. Feedback control system. It gives the feedback to the system, whether the measurement you have taken. Now, what is the decision against it? So might be if you are measuring some temperature and you want that when temperature which is measured, for example, in the refrigerators, if temperature in the refrigerator goes below minus 0.10 degree, please turn off the compressor. So this is feedback. There was a measurement that and you can say when temperature inside the refrigerator goes above 10 degree, please turn on the compressor. Again, there was a reading. When reading is done, under that reading, refrigerator is making a decision. Definitely, there is a person, designer who set this thing, but there is a feedback system. If that feedback of minus 10 degree or 10 degree will come, then there will be switch off and switch on the compressor. And final stage is output stage. Output stage means you will measure the reading. You will take the reading, that signal which sensed. Then after sensing, some conditioning is done. And if there's any feedback or not, whatever, you have to able to see the output. Here is some example. This is a atomic force microscopy, and it is used to measure the surface finish of a object. For example, if this is my object, I want to measure its surface finish. It is a good surface, it is a rough surface. For example, if you see at your homes tiles, if you put your hand on tiles, it looks very smooth. But if you closely look the surface of a tile, even on the glass, under some microscopic or some TEM machines, SEM machines, you will see the surfaces are very, very rough. Yes, our eye cannot see them. They appear very fine to us. But when we check with special instruments, these surfaces looks very rough. So we need very special sophisticated equipment. Here is one of the equipment, atomic force microscope. He says what is done, there is a lever. That lever is slide on the surface. This is a surface for which we want to measure the roughness. So when it levers, it slides on it. For example, when it was here, its position is like this. When it moved to new position, it moves like this. How we detect this motion? They placed a laser and the reflection of the laser on this point. So this laser and its reflection on this here, this light sensor, which is also called photodiodes, give us the information. For example, you can see here reflection is on this point, but what we are here, reflection is on this point. So might be it will give you less reading, means it is more smooth area. It will give you higher reading, will tell you it is rough area. So now, if we want to measure the surface finish, this lever will be practically touching it. It will be practically touching it. So a mechanical system, it is a mechanical system. So mechanical system will touching it, keep on moving up and down, moving up and down, depending upon the surface. Due to this, the reflection from the laser will keep on changing every time, and it can be connected to our feedback or other electronic system, so we can take the reading. So in this particular case, laser together with this light sensor form the transducer component. We already discussed there is a sensor which can sense, might be here it's a sensing here, but that sensing is now transduced in other form. So it is measuring in other form. So that mechanical movement up and down is going to transform into photodiodes plus laser combination to some electronic signal. So it was transducer. So this example, we have seen a combination only up to this point, and we have seen only one thing. We have seen a sensor transducer thing, a transducer. Here is a very classical example. It will keep on coming for many different discussions. So it is a bulb thermometer. Look at this bulb thermometer closely. What is the construction? In the construction is the bulb sensor. Most of the time this bulb sensor is normally round and its surface area is more than rest of the part, or it is different from the rest of the part. We can clearly indicate, okay, this is the part where we sensing being done. So it is called bulb. From bulb to entrance into this portion, it is called sensor transducer portion. We will discuss now. Then finally, this amplification or signal, you can say conditioning, and finally this modification signal amplification, where starts, where stop, you can take your reading. So one thermometer is going to fulfill at least three basic requirements here. It is sensing, transducing, signal conditioning, and output. So it is, so whatever, whenever we design, we will keep on looking at these things. So here, first thing, sensor. What is sensor here in this case? The liquid we have placed in the bulb act as sensor. What happens? There is a bulb. In the bulb, there is a liquid placed. Normally, it is mercury, Hg. What is the mercury property? When you give it a heat, it expands. When there is a less heat or less temperature, it will contract. So it is sensing. So liquid inside it will act as a sensor. So now we know there is a sensor. Okay. By forcing expanding liquid, if temperature is increasing, liquid will expand. In a narrow capillary, this is narrow capillary, it will go from here to this. So transform thermal information into mechanical displacement. Look at here what the word he is using. Careful, that word is. He is saying he is sensing heat and converting into some mechanical system. Look at here. This displacement is some kind of mechanical thing. Things are moving, it's mechanical. Due to heat, something is moving up and something is moving down. So heat signal is converted into some kind of mechanical thing. Mechanical, moving ups and down, movements are mechanical things. So bulb thermometer, your sensed temperature is then transduced into some mechanical form. Why? Because it is moving up and down will give you some reading. So here, rather than converting into some, you can say electric signal, it is converted into some mechanical signal. Anyhow, transducer definition is it will convert from one form to other form that is readable. So it is a transducer. So he says this transducer concept, the information into mechanical display, has the bulb and internal capillary design. This bulb in which liquid is there, then its volume, and its internal shape will dictate transducer. If heat, how much volume is there, it is large or small, this bulb diameter will act as a transducer will and a liquid mercury will go up and down. So we have seen a sensor stage sensed by some liquid. We have seen a transducer stage that expansion will happen. How you will notice the expansion? Inside the bulb, and here this design will force it to move into some capillary or some stem. This portion is called stem. Next, the diameter of the thermometer capillary. This diameter of the thermometer capillary relative to the bulb volume, relative to bulb volume. What is its volume and what is its diameter? Show the how much liquid will go up and down. For example, if this is my capillary and this is my bulb, this is second thing. Again a capillary. You can see it is very thin diameter. Again bulb is same. A thermometer, B thermometer. And if same temperature is here, same temperature, same, both are same. For example, 30. Now anybody can tell me if liquid goes up here, it will have same height or different height. Please tell me if it is transduced into mechanical form. This has larger diameter and this has less diameter. The height again will be same or will be different. Ziad, you are thinking right. It will be different. So if I am in a company, a factory A, which is using this, then I will be, yes, B will be higher, exactly. So it means if 37, I will mark here, which is used by company A, manufacturer A. If he is using this diameter, might be his 37 will be marked here, little bit high. Being a user, you don't concern, but being a designer, you will concern. Yes, this is important. B is this diameter, so it is doing conditioning. So now we have seen conditioning. Conditioning mean amplification. Same temperature, 37, same source of heat. Here it has traveled less height. Here it has traveled more height. So it was conditioning. So conditioning stage is done by this capillary which is inside the bulb thermometer. And finally, output stage. So where it will stop or here in the factory, you already calibrated that if you supply a 37-degree, it should come here. So you apply 37 here. Then next time you apply it, for example, 60-degree, and it stops here, you will put 60 here on your thermometer. If next time you put 90-degree sense here, you already know the 90-degree. So you will put 90 here. So this is how you will design your thermometer. So now today you have seen a thermometer and you have seen three basic principles. Sensing, it is going to sense the heat. Then transducer, what transducer here did it inside the bulb and inside capillary design, it converted the heat energy into some kind of mechanical movement, mechanical. Then that mechanical movement is, which was transducer effect, and how much it will go up and down, conditioning, how much depend upon this capillary design diameter, and finally you will measure your output reading. So now you know sensor transducer, one package. Then you want amplification, how much? Might be it will give me more amplification. Then B is giving me more amplification. Same thing, amplification is high. And finally output reading. So now we have seen examples. In the previous case, we were looking only a sensor system, transducer system. Here In the bulb case, you have seen a sensor transducer package. You have seen a conditioning, means how much it will go up, how much it will go down. Different factories can use different than output reading. First, it was sensor. Second stage, conditioning. There's also, and finally output. But between them, there was also feedback control system. We already discussed. In fact, these are, you can say, thermostat. This is a thermostat. Have you seen thermostat in your daily life? Anybody give me any example? Have you seen thermostats in your daily life at your home, somewhere around you? Where they are applied? I am waiting. Air conditioning, very easy, very good. Air conditioning, yes, you are saying refrigerator, or in some in the factories manufacturing. If there is a, you can say, there's a foundry or in the furnace. If temperature go below this, turn off the supply of heat. If temperature go above, turn on, turn off, whatever. It will save in fact, it will save a lot of energy. For example, if temperature in the room is already maintained, so there is a system that will measure the temperature, that will record the temperature. Again, measurement is there, but against that measurement, you are making a decision. What is your decision? That when temperature reaches 20 degrees centigrade, you will send a feedback system to the compressor, turn off. And when temperature goes below some certain limits, turn off. When go above certain limits, turn on the compressor. So feedback system. Now we have discussed that measurements will have some stages. Measurements have sensor, this and this. Then there are also, that's, we want to plan experimental test. But you think it is a straightforward thing to measure experimental plan? Simple? No. Whenever we are going to make experimental plan, we need to select good equipment, we need to select procedures, we need to know which thing will affect our experiment, and we need to know some important formulas and relations. Here is an example of an experiment. And that experiment, we want to measure pressure, and we will see what are important things. So basically, now next example, we are going to plan a test, experimental test plan. So what is experimental test? Serves as answer a question. So we want experiment. Why? We want to know some answers. So test should be designed to execute to find the particular answer. Test should not be, you can say, give so many things that precision is lost, idea is lost. Because now you will see, even if you want to measure one thing only from one test experiment, if you are you are going to put more and more things, things will become more and more difficult. Readings will not be as good. So from one particular equipment, it is better to measure one particular answer. So experimental design involves itself with the developing of measurement test plan. So a test plan draws from the following three steps. He says, whenever we are going to plan some test, we will follow three tests now. Parameter design plan. First thing, parameter design. Determine objective. What is my target? Then, what are process variables and what are parameters? We will see these parameters detail, but at the moment, what he is saying, please know what you want to do, and whatever you want to do, which are the important things. Those can affect variables, very important. For example, we want to plan a measure the atmospheric pressure. Atmospheric pressure is around us. There is air, and air has a pressure on it. So a barometer or a basic barometer, which is this thing, is used to measure the atmospheric pressure. What happens? There's a mercury and there's a tube. Under the pressure of atmosphere, it will rise above. If there is more pressure of air, it will rise more above. If there's a less pressure, it will rise less. So if I take this thing out just to make force balance equation, you might have seen this force balance equation in thermodynamics and also in fluid mechanics. So when I take this portion here, weight acting downward, atmospheric pressure, force acting upward, when we balance them, this is final relation we get. So now I know what is my objective. I want to measure the atmospheric pressure. This is my particular equipment. And three things will affect my experiment. First thing is the density. Density will tell me which material is inside. It's a water. Water is more heavy. Is there some other materials, liquids, mercury, whatever? Density tells us which one is heavy material, which one is lightweight material. Definitely, if height is same, heavy material will have more weight, more pressure. Second thing that can affect my result, gravity, and finally height. And you can see here, I want to measure pressure. If I say my acceleration due to gravity is constant, it is not changing. We know gravity is constant. For example, density is not changing. Why? I am using, for example, water. Am I always using water? So water is again not changing. So which one thing is only changing is height. So you have designed an experiment in which you find that if I am able to measure the height only, I can measure my pressure, atmospheric pressure. So height in this particular experiment, a formula is there. That formula is telling you, you want to measure pressure, please measure the height. If you are using this particular experiment. So design parameter, what is my objective? My objective is pressure. What important variables? We know today three important variables will affect pressure reading: density, gravity, and height. So what question, if I'm going to design this, if I'm going to use this, which important question I'm going to ask myself? What I want to measure, what is my target pressure, and which thing I need to measure? Height. Height will be high or height will be low, will be directly give me my answer if I'm using this. And which variables can affect my results? Density and gravity. For example, if we can have idea sometime there's a high temperatures, densities are different. At low temperatures, densities are different. Or sometime we can say we are using a material which was not pure, its density was not as it is original density. And gravity, for example, if I perform experiment at sea level, gravity value is different. If I perform experiment at Taif, which is very high, so gravity value is different. So if I'm going to measure the atmospheric pressure at sea level, it will be different. If I'm going to measure at Taif, it will be different. So this formula is telling me clearly that if you want to use this particular experiment, somehow they derived this relation, and from this relation there is atmospheric pressure, and that atmospheric pressure will be measured by the change in height from here. And those variables, those will also be used, but normally they are constant, but they will affect my result. So these are things. So parameter design variable. Next thing I should know, system and tolerance design plan. Select a measurement technique, equipment, and test procedure based on some preconceived tolerances, limits, or errors. It means, for example, you can use a equipment. For example, if I will use a vernier caliper, I know its accuracy is very high. If I'm going to use a certain tape to measure the height, something I know, I can measure the height, but accuracy will be not that much. Its precision is not that much. So we need to know how much quality reading I want. I want very quality reading or I want less quality reading. So I should be design things as per that requirement. In what ways can I measurement are good? If they are good, how much they are good? So it will also help. Finally, data reduction or interpretation. What it will that? How will I interpret the data? For example, you can say data interpretation is this. There's a density, there's a gravity, but I will measure height, and different values of height will give me my atmospheric pressure. So how will I use data to answer my question? We have just seen this that if I multiply density, gravity into height, I will get my answer, because target was not to measure the height but actually pressure. If I know this experiment, if I know interpretation of data, I can measure my pressure. Final. How good is my answer? It makes sense. It is sensible answer or not sensible answer. What this means. Look at here at the bottom. Scientists designed one car, A. Then scientists designed another car, B. They want to check which car is good against air. A car is good against air or B car goes against air. So how they will check? They will measure the force, drag force. Drag force. Yes, B will be good. Very good. Abdurrahman. Now look at the. They have A car, they have B car, and they measure the drag force. Look at the magnitude of the drag force. Magnitude. Look at here this magnitude. Your common sense saying that B is a good car, but when I measured my data, look at here. Drag force is higher on good car and drag force is less on bad car. Please be careful. If you have this result, it means there's some serious mistake. Don't accept it. It is not common sense. This result should be, its magnitude should be small and this magnitude should be high. Then your experiment can make some sense. But here you can clearly see drag force should be high and drag force should be less. It means whatever you have done is something wrong. So it never means when you perform some experiment, you just take your answers and say, this is my answer. Please read it very carefully. This is making sense or this is not making any sense. Might be answer is not okay. So it just getting data is not sufficient. You also need to make sure if data is making any sense or not. So then you need to plan this. Now we know that whenever we are going to plan something, we need to measure data. For example, if I want to measure pressure using this equipment, these three variables are required, in which height is the most important variable, and these density and gravity is also variables. They will affect my results. So these three things, 1, 2, 3. Today I am telling you, if you are going to use barometer, three things are important: density, gravity, height. Look, assume I don't give you this formula. I don't give you this formula. You've never seen this, for example. And I say, please use this and measure atmospheric pressure. You are in trouble. You have to derive some formulas. And then you need to know, after deriving the formulas, by this method, in this equation, you can see there's a height, there's a pressure, there's a weight, rho g height into cross-sectional area. In the final form, there is no cross-sectional area. It is crossed. Although during calculation it was there, but in the final form it was not there. So area is not my variable here. My final variable is rho g h. So whenever you're going to plan some test, it's you who will decide which variable are important, which variable we will measure, and which variable they are not there but they will affect my results. So you need to know variables. In case of atmospheric pressure, we define three variables, but in this case you already know. Might be in future some exercises are coming in which you will tell which is important variable, which is used, and which is not important variable. So now we also need to know what are variables and what are their meanings. We already know that a very simple thing, for example, this is an equation y is equal to mx plus 3, in which x is called independent variable, y is called dependent. Independent means it's x which you are using to find the value of y. Target was y, but what you measured x. So when you multiply x with 5 and added 3, you are able to measure the y. So indirect. Just like pressure, you want to measure pressure, please measure the height, then multiply with density and gravity, then you will find your pressure. So which is independent variable, which is dependent variable? So in this case, x is my independent variable. So the identification of relevant process parameters and variables, we will see this parameter in next slide, is a first step if we want to design some experiment. So what are variables? In fact, variables are the things that affect the result, a test. I will measure these things and I will know they are going to affect my test. In addition to target measure variables, there may be other variables pertinent to measure process that will affect my outcome. What is this? We will discuss next time. Might be, for example, here we know pressure, density, gravity, height. Is there any other thing that can affect my result? Might be I can say high temperature can affect the density, but I ignored it and it is not in my formula. I told you gravity at sea level is different, at mountains it is different. So I should know where I'm standing. So this can also affect my result. So I need to know that what are my targeted variables. Those I will measure, but should I also know that these variables might be not used in my formulas? Yes, but still they can affect my result. So a known process of variable should all be evaluated as possible. So what we do, we need to discuss all the variables. Known variables, independent, dependent, that can affect, or we need to discuss other variables. So how we will discuss cause and effect? We will need to see, can this affect my result or not? Or not, it can affect, it cannot affect. We need to discuss. Here is some more explanation. If a change in one variable will not affect the value of some other variable, so they are independent of each other. So there can be situation in which two variables are not depending on each other. If I change one, other will not change. So they are called they are not depending on each other. So they are called independent of each other. A variable that can be changed independently of other variable is known as independent variable. Here we are talking about two variables. Here we are talking about two variable, for example, A and B. And if I change B, A is not affected. So it means they are not depending on each other, they are independent of each other. But it is written here independent. What is written here? Independent and variable. Independent variable. Here, if I change X, I measure X, I know my Y will change. So X is my independent variable and Y is my dependent variable. So if there's a pressure is my one variable, there's a rho, there is a G, there's a H, which is used to measure the barometric pressure. Can somebody tell me what is independent variable here and what is dependent variable here? Can somebody tell me what is dependent variable in this equation and what is independent variable? I am waiting. What is dependent variable and what is independent? One person say dependent density, P independent H, G independent G. At the moment, for simplicity, I can say very simply, P is my dependent because it is P which is affected by this, and H is my independent. Yes, P is dependent, H is independent. In fact, this is H. If I am saying density is constant, if I am saying gravity is constant, H is changing up and down. This H will tell me how my pressure will change. So H is independent variable, P is dependent variable. So variables that are not controlled, that cannot be controlled during measurement, but can affect my result, they are called extraneous variables. We will see this extraneous variable with an example. He says, when you design your experiment, you know what is your independent variable. You will find what is your dependent variable. But he says there is third variable, extraneous, which is not there, but it is going to affect your results. And you don't know. Extraneous variables are very difficult to find sometimes. They are disturbing my results. So we need to find them. And so they are not directly visible, but you need to find them. Whether they will affect your result or not, we'll see them. So today I will stop here. We have stopped here that whenever we want to make a test plan, we should know which variable we need to know. We know I want to test a plan to measure a pressure, and that thing I derived a relation in which rho, density, gravity, and height was there. Then I find height is the independent variable, pressure is the dependent variable. There is also parameters we will see next time. And other than independent, dependent, there are some extraneous variables. They can affect my result. So we will see them next time with some examples more and more in details. So this is the end of the today's lecture. Recording is available for you.